Boo.
Are you scared?
Do you like scary movies?
We're going to take a second to talk about ourselves. We're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to share a little bit about how long we've been a therapist, how long we've maybe been paranormal investigating, and what kind of brought us to paranormal investigations and ghost therapists. Wants to go first?
My name is Taylor. I have been a therapist, fully licensed for almost a year, but I've been doing therapy since like 2020 and then also before that. So I got some experience under my belt, but I've been a paranormal investigator for almost 8 years now. And then before I became an investigator, I had numerous childhood experiences that I just couldn't explain or like figure out. And so when I went into the psychology field, I was really interested in the mind and like paranormal and how they overlap, and then like how they're similar and how they're different. Because, you know, a lot of people, I think, especially in our mental health field, will chalk paranormal experiences up to like psychosis.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
Hallucinations.
hallucinations. And there's, you know,
For
science calls it one thing, but the spirituality and the spiritual community call it something else. And I've just been really interested in where the intersections are, and then also where they're like very distinctly different. And so I've kind of like combined my love for mental health and my love for paranormal investigating over the years, and
ta-da!
Yeah, here we are. Ta-da! So
Love that.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yes. Welcome to the world.
I love it. Okay, Christopher, tell us about you.
Well, I'm an old bitch. So I've been doing this. I've been licensed since 2017. I've been doing therapy for, I think, since late 2015.
Coming up on your 10-year mark.
I'm like 75. I'm 35, but I'm 75 in gay years. Hi. Yeah, I've been working a lot with just families and gay people and queer people and trans people and all the folks with an X.
Yes.
All the folks. And I love what I do. I've had a calling since I was a teenager to be a therapist, but I met you. Do you remember the first like time we actually came into the same space? Do you remember that?
It was virtually, I think.
It was virtually. So we both got hired. All three of us used to work at the same practice,
Yeah.
but we both got hired around the same time, and it was like this little introductory thing that we were doing. You know, tell us a little bit about yourselves over Zoom, which is, you know, always fun, right?
I always get so anxious when I'm like, when they're like, tell me about yourself, I'm like, oh.
You're like, I hunt ghosts!
What do you want to know? Did you come on your Tumblr and you said you writing and you did it?
That's literally what it was.
Literally,
it was.
everything.
It
But
was
I said ghost. I think I said the paranormal investigation. And
yes, and I was like, her. I was like, I need to be this girl's friend. I don't know, but we started texting, and the rest is history. But
You texted me immediately after that.
immediately,
You're
like
oh my God,
after the
we need
meeting,
to be friends.
why aren't we
I
friends?
remember that.
Where have you been all my life? And you introduced that you were actually the first person that actually said like paranormal investigation and therapy are kind of the same thing.
Yep.
And I was like, huh, that's so cool. And I was like, take me on all of your paranormal investigations. Take me here. Next time you're going, take me with you. And then that's when all three of us it was way after the fact, we all kind of started realizing that like we can do something both with therapy and ghosts. So, voila, ghost therapists.
Yeah.
So,
And
here
it's
we
not
are.
necessarily like, you know, I feel like people will come to this channel and be like, are you providing therapy to ghosts? And like, we're technically not, but we're using our counseling skills
Yes.
during investigation. So we're asking like, just more questions that you would hear from a therapist while on an investigation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And using that kind of like warmth and openness and that our ability to create relationships, I think, is such a huge piece of what we do when we are investigating.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're not just trying to hear one word, antagonize, or get something. It's like we're trying to build a connection with them, just like we do with our clients.
we all three of us, any therapist watching this or therapist in training, all of us, I think, have this quality about us where people they don't even know that we're therapists, and they'll just like open up and just spill all their trauma and life dirt and skeletons in the closet. And how many of us have been in public and we've heard people say stuff to us and they've been like, I've never told anybody that before. And I think all of us kind of have that quality, same.
For sure.
And
It's
so,
like, I did not ask for this, but okay, here we are.
yeah, I'm like, here we are. But with
I know
ghosts,
way too much about your mom. This
God.
is just an Uber ride, man.
Right.
Exactly. It's just a plane ride.
Yes.
But we hope to kind of invoke that energy with ghosts, and so far I think we kind of have. We've already
doing a good job.
We've been filming, and we've actually gotten some ghosts that have told us some pretty interesting things.
Totally.
So and there's no hippo when it comes to
There's no hippo with
ghosts.
ghosts.
Yeah,
So,
there's not nothing in
Yes.
HIPAA.
nope.
Totally.
And it's interesting because, one of it's more of my personal ethics, but when doing this work, we don't have to go around with a provoking energy and poke to get them to do something. Like, imagine if somebody was coming up to you as a person and be like, tell me what your name is! Where are you, you coward? And I would be like,
I would like it. I'd be like, oh, I like this.
oh, this person's yelling at me. Ooh.
Please cuss me out.
Yeah.
But I would be like, absolutely go fuck yourself. Like,
Yeah,
that.
100%.
Most people would.
But
Me, I would be like, I like you. Hi.
Oh.
But I think all three of us too are drawn to intensity. So
Yeah.
there's that.
yeah, I mean, we're drawn to doing this. I say all that to say, we don't have to poke and be rude and all of that to get responses. We're
Totally.
doing that from a compassionate angle, an empathetic angle, and
That's what some paranormal investigators don't realize is that you don't have to be antagonistic with ghosts. They're
Yeah.
going to talk to you.
Absolutely.
whether they want to or not.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
they don't want to talk to you, then they're not going
So
to.
my name is Sara, and I have been licensed I've been fully licensed since 2022, but I've been practicing therapy since 2019, and I love what I do. It's great. It's super fun. Usually. And I got drawn to paranormal investigating when I became friends with Taylor. I've always kind of had a spiritual side, and growing up, spirituality was a big part of my childhood and growing up. My grandmother, my family's Turkish, my dad's side of the family, and my grandma would read fortunes in coffee cups and do tarot and stuff like
That's
that.
so cool.
It was so cool, and she was really good too. So intuition and spiritual stuff was always around, and my aunt's a crystal healer, so it was always around.
I didn't know that.
Y'all didn't know that? Oh, fun fact, yeah. So we've always had a lot of spirituality, I think, in my
Sounds
home.
like it.
But growing up, I didn't really get into the paranormal investigation side until I met Taylor.
Hi.
She brought it out in us.
She totally brought it out of us, and it's just been so fun to kind of go on that journey, and I feel like it really ties in well with my practice too, because so much of what I do with my clients is kind of spirituality led, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily emphasized, but it's when we talk about intuition, when we talk about trust your gut, when we talk about things like that, to me that is calling on your spiritual side to some regard, and calling on your protective angels and calling on your ancestors and all that stuff. And I think that that's such a important piece of doing the work with my clients and the type of work that they do. And so this really ties into that so well for me, and that's part of the reason why I've been really enjoying doing it. So it's been fun.
Miss Mediterranean Mystic. That's
Yes,
your nickname.
Mediterranean.
I'm giving you.
Yes, I love that.
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
It's very, we can all probably speak to this too, but spirituality or just kind of believing in something is really important for health and wellness,
So important.
especially for perspective and the mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the more research they're doing on that, the more they're realizing this is actually a hallmark. People need to have something that they believe in
Yes.
to
Right.
be okay.
Yeah.
Or,
Something, whether it's spirituality, whether it's a
Yes.
religion, whether it's whatever it might be. Like, you can have any type of variety of belief, right? But really, it's just about having faith in something bigger than yourself and being a part of something bigger than yourself, that I think gives people a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, a sense of community. Like, those are all really so important, you know? And I think part of you and what we're doing now that I think about it is like, we're kind of creating community with the spirits. Oh my God.
We sure are.
Yeah.
Our little spirit camp.
Yeah.
That's
like,
a good point.
Yeah. So it's super fun. I'm really loving it, and we're having a good time. I only cried once so far, so that's good.
Wait, are you talking about Yorktown?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yes.
Because that is actually going in.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
You'll be able to watch my husband make me cry.
It is. I watched that last night.
I'd be upset if it wasn't in the video.
Okay.
Oh my
Because I was going to bring that up to you. Like, can I include that in the Yorktown video?
Is there footage of me crying?
Yeah.
Yes!
Voice alone scared me. And that's
Scary a
what-
minute ago, and then for you to come back and you're like, that doesn't feel good.
Okay, come on, let's go.
And I had the ugliest cry face too. My cry face is so ugly, so it's great.
I couldn't tell. It was pretty dark, so like I couldn't really see the full. I couldn't see it, but we can hear it.
We can hear it.
I
yeah.
can hear
I was like,
it as if it just happened. So one thing, there's
I don't mean to laugh at your crying, but it was
No,
just,
it's so bad. I'm crying and my face is both.
But then I think what really brought it all together and like a nice little bow on top was my birthday party at Yorktown Hospital, because I wanted to rent out a abandoned hospital for my 29th birthday party.
As one does.
But
as one does.
Just normal.
Welcome
Nothing
to the
weird
Ghost
about that.
Therapist.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so y'all came,
Yeah.
and we stayed there, I think from like
12 hours.
12, yeah,
Yeah,
it
we
was
were like from
overnight.
7 p.m. to 7 a.m. or
Yep.
something like that.
Yeah. So I really like, you know, when we started all this, I really threw y'all into the deep end
Yeah.
with like, just like, we're gonna go to this hospital.
So like, we're
and-
gonna go to like the most haunted place in the state of Texas. It's fine.
And
Don't mind anybody.
we have been doing ghost hunting ever since.
Ever since.
Yeah.
I think that it was so intense and so scary, but so fun in like a roller coaster kind of way. And like
Yes.
your adrenaline kind of gets heightened and you get excited when you start getting evidence and stuff. And then it's like you just want more and more and more, even though it can be kind of scary sometimes, depending on where you're at. It's not always scary, but depending on where you're at, it can be a little scary.
Or when your husband pranks you.
Or when your husband pranks you and makes you cry in the middle of the fucking hospital. No, seriously, Carl, don't. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Stay tuned for that. Yes, we are still married. I haven't taken it for half yet, okay, but
If he does it again,
he does it again.
Yeah.
I'll see your ass on divorce court.
Exactly, literally. This will be the Ghost Therapist Marriage Edition, where we're therapizing Carl's dead ghost body.
Yeah, not even a divorce court. I'll see you in the beyond, Carl.
Yeah, exactly. Carl,
I will haunt you.
literally.
Carl would so haunt you though.
Oh, he would so haunt me.
He would-
Oh,
my
100%.
God.
He would be a
100%.
trickster.
Yeah.
He would like
Yeah.
hide
Oh,
stuff from
dude.
you.
100%. And
Take
y'all
your
will probably
keys.
see cameos. Carl's my husband, and he is a troll. And we will probably have cameos of Carl at some episode in the future. So stay
Which
tuned.
we welcome. We
Yes.
welcome trolls. We
We welcome skeptics. We
Yes.
welcome trolls. We welcome
Yes.
gremlins. We welcome any and all. So that's just a little bit about us. I think that we just kind of wanted to, you know, for our first video, and share a little bit about like how this came to be and like who the hell we are and what are we fucking
What are we doing?
here?
What are we doing?
Why
do we have
here?
a YouTube channel?
What? Yeah.
Why are we here? So, but I think the real question that we're here is to answer the question:
Are ghosts real?
are ghosts real?
This is us kind of combining our professional expertise and also like kind of our opinions too.
Yeah.
So like, Lord, don't come at us, but like, here we are.
Oh god.
So,
Don't put that energy out there.
yeah, are ghosts real? Yes, I think that not everything is a ghost though, which is unexciting sometimes because you know Hollywood has pumped us all up to want the demons to come out of the ceiling. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, not everything is a ghost. There are things that can be easily explained, logically explained, and also there's a chunk of science that science doesn't even understand yet, which is kind of like on this spirituality spectrum. Like even in the medical field, it shows up with just like, you know, they've caught angels on camera sometimes, or like someone's
when they're gonna
something
die, they go into the light, or
so like, and I would love to actually talk to like a doctor in that regard, just to kind of like see what they've experienced. But there's definitely just this whole category of things that science just doesn't know how to measure yet, and I think that's kind of what we're talking about here. I had the experience of working in an inpatient hospital for a long time, and like a year, but
that's a long time.
That's a long time for a hospital.
In our business,
that's a long time in our business.
That turnover rate, let me tell you. But and so I really got to see a lot of like, what does psychosis look like?
The clinical meaning of psychosis is a disconnection from reality. You're welcome.
Versus, you know, what is, you know, like an actual experience. And I've shared with you both, you know, I could literally go on for so long about the little that science does know or has been able to prove about the beyond. You know, what they've discovered is that, you know, people who are more likely to experience a paranormal experience usually have some type of trauma. So that can be its own episode one day, but like they have been able to find some identifiers that most people who have experiences have in common. So they do have some research on that. Not a lot.
Enough.
Not enough,
You know, there's only like one parapsychology PhD program in the whole country.
I'm not surprised.
And
honestly.
I don't even think it's accredited.
Really?
It's really sad. But you go to Scotland.
You go like
Trust me, I've
overseas.
looked into it.
Yeah. But no, I definitely think ghosts are real, and I don't think it's always like, well, you're experiencing hallucinations. Like you may be experiencing something that science doesn't know what to call that yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and it's kind of the same thing as like, we only understand 10% of the brain because there's still years and years and years of science that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And it's the same with paranormal. We only understand not even 10%. We probably only understand about
0.5. Maybe.
Not that much. So we're still, if anything, we're spearheading. Hopefully, something to come out of this is that we're spearheading other people and awareness that like people need to have around the parapsychology and paranormal.
Totally.
So, so yeah, if the government is listening, which of course they always are, dump money into parapsychology. We need more research behind it.
Well, and
call my CIA agent. Hey, Joe. Hey, Billy. How are the kids?
But I think too, we're bringing light to a conversation that I wish, you know, more people would have, especially like therapists talking to each other about it.
For sure.
Well, and what I've also noticed is as I've become more comfortable with like sharing that I do paranormal investigations, I have had people come to me, and they're usually therapists, but I have found that there are more therapists that are open to the idea of it than therapists who are like, you're weird. That's not real.
Most therapists, most of our therapist friends follow our Instagram.
Yeah. And it's an important conversation too, because we're kind of trying to like normalize too, like you can share this with a mental health professional without you winding up in the hospital somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a big part of it, is like taking out the clinical aspect. You know, people when they have paranormal experiences, I think they're kind of hesitant to share because they don't want to A, be judged, or B, be called, you know, quote unquote crazy. Or like, you know, oh, that didn't happen, or that's, you know, it's a hallucination, or oh, it's psychosis. Like, and I think as therapists, like, we have to also be understanding that like we don't know everything, and we might have clinical expertise because of our field and our training and what we've gone through and all that, and that's great. And also like there's so much more that we don't know, and discounting and invalidating someone's experience can be so harmful.
Don't we know
to people. And so I think it's so important for therapists to start having this conversation. as well as the kind of general public about like, you know, it's not always a sign of something that is like it's not always a sign of mental illness. It's like there could be a lot more to it.
Right.
And we just have to be open and not be afraid of it. That's the other thing too, I think, when we use the word ghost, it's funny because when you first started talking, and I was thinking about the word ghost, and I was thinking about how like the word ghost I think implies scary. Like I think that there's a connotation with that, like a ghost is equal to scary.
Yeah.
And it's like ghosts aren't always scary. Ghosts are people just like us.
They are.
You know, like there's good people, there's bad people, there's good ghosts, there's bad ghosts, there's ghosts in between. You know, like it's just a name for a spiritual entity. It's not necessarily something that has to be fear-based. But I think that because our society and Hollywood and everything has created everything to be so fear-based around the paranormal and around ghosts or spirits, like that's the go-to lens that we're looking at everything through, is a fear-based lens.
Right.
And I think that therapists in particular, we can be really quick to look at things from a fear-based perspective, which is fair. We have a lot to lose, you know what I mean? Like we have licenses to protect, we have businesses to protect,
Lives to protect.
Like we have families, like we have a lot of responsibility to, you know, take really good care of the people that are in our care, right?
I didn't want this power.
I know, my God. Like
Beyonce.
we have a lot of yes, amen. We have a lot of power in that regard, and so we need to not be afraid. Like if we look at everything from a fear-based lens, we're more apt to project our fear of something bad happening onto someone else.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so if we have a client that's like, oh, I'm experiencing things that are paranormal, I think a lot of therapists, their first instinct is like, oh my gosh, what if this client's going into psychosis? I need to jump.
Yeah.
And I need to move, and I need to like.
And it's almost never the case.
And
Well,
it's sometimes it's not the case.
It's not the
Sometimes
case.
it is, right? Like
Yeah,
sometimes people
sometimes.
really do need to
Right.
get that higher level of care and all that, but sometimes it might just be paranormal experience.
Another thing that they've noted in science is that the amount of stress that the brain is under can also dictate if you're going to have a paranormal experience or not. So, like, it can be not even psychosis. Like, it's not always psychosis. Sometimes it can just be like, if your brain, like, if bless your little brain's heart, if it's going through like a really hard time and it's like short circuiting and like smoke is coming out of your ears, you're like, it may be because you're stressed that you're having that experience.
Because if you're heightened, like, you know, if you are feeling anxious and your whole nervous system is heightened, then your
You're gonna be
brain's
more sensitive.
scanning for threats.
Yep.
And so
Yes.
anything that could be like your eyes playing a trick on you maybe, or like a
Yeah.
shadow, or, you know, maybe you hear a noise and your brain thinks it's something that it's not. You know what I mean? Like that could definitely be a big piece of it too.
It can be your own trauma coming back up too,
Yep.
and the body remembers it. Even if you're, you know,
Absolutely.
people I think sometimes think that, well, if I don't remember it, it didn't happen, or if I don't like, it just sometimes there's such a subconscious piece to the brain. Like I can't wait until they do more research on the 90% that we don't know, but like the subconscious remembers everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be that, and you know, people are thinking it's paranormal. Sometimes it may be both.
Yep.
So if you were looking for clarity on this question, the answer is it depends. Like, are
Yes.
ghosts real? It depends.
It
Yeah.
depends. I mean, I irrefutably think that ghosts are real. I've had, so just a little bit about kind of what led me into paranormal investigation. I've had experiences since I was a kid. It's funny too because Taylor was actually, we had all kind of met in this is my apartment, and we had met here and we were all kind of getting ready. We're gonna film. You're in the bathroom putting on your makeup, and Taylor was sitting in a chair that used to belong to my dead gay uncle. Used to actually belong to my dead gay uncle, and you were picking up a whole bunch of stuff. But something I didn't tell you, my uncle actually died in his bed. And I remember I was like 17 at this. I was a senior in high school, and I remember like just being in the bedroom after he died. I think it was the wake of the funeral, and the clock was a digital clock, but the numbers were like going up, like for literally like 10 minutes. And I remember going, and I was like only 17, but I had already had a bunch of previous paranormal experiences before. A flash of light in my bedroom, and what else? Just a bunch of random things. So yeah, I've basically grown up with the paranormal as well. And I'm just like, and funny enough, I became a therapist, and now we have a channel called The Ghost Therapist.
Yes.
So funny how that works. But that's kind of what led me into this. And so I believe as a therapist and as a human, ghosts are real. But I also understand what you're saying too, of like sometimes it can be, you can rule it out of psychosis or noisy upstairs neighbors, which we actually just heard them a couple minutes ago. I hope you guys didn't, but yeah, so it's all about kind of just debunking. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not jumping to paranormal as the first
yes.
answer.
Right.
Yes.
You want to see if it's something else, but you want to be like have a healthy level of skepticism. So you think ghosts are real. That's your answer though.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I definitely think ghosts are real. Yeah, I mean, I think just similar to you guys, like, I mean, I had experiences growing up, and I had experiences in my adult life too, you know, that weren't kind of like, I think, your stereotypical, like, oh, I saw an orb, or oh, like I had a flashing light, but you know, when people would pass on, I would feel it, or, you know, like after my grandmother passed, like, there were so many things that happened that were so unexplained by anything else. And I just know she's there. And I think that the spiritual realm is so, like, as we kind of talked about, like, it's so complex, and I think there's so many different aspects to it. But it's hard for me to say that it's not real, you know? I think that, I don't know that I would ever believe it's not real at this point. I think that it's, but I do think that it's a thing about, like, you have to be open to it, you know what I mean? Like, I think you have to be, if you're open to experiences of that realm, the experiences will come to you.
Yeah.
But I think that they can, if you're closed off to it, or if you don't want that, or if you don't want to believe that, then they won't come to you, you know? Like, I think that there's people that don't, or they want to have an explanation for everything too, right? It's like, oh, well, that was just a weird happenstance, or oh, that was just whatever.
Funny,
like
though.
That could be a coping mechanism, honestly.
Uh-huh.
Like,
sure, yeah.
I can't acknowledge, like, I don't want to acknowledge that that may even be a
It's
possibility.
like the fear-based aspect of it is people are afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know?
We've also, at least this is what's happened with me, is I have done little makeshift paranormal investigations in the past, way before this. And the people that came with us, and you can probably vouch to this, the people who came with us have just like, oh, nothing's gonna happen, ghosts aren't real. They're the ones where they see something and I literally have seen them run out of the building before.
Yeah.
They're like, I had no idea, oh my god. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah. So skeptics,
100%.
it's almost like ghosts know that, like, skeptics are walking into a situation and they're like, ah, fuck you thought. Fuck you thought for 500.
Yes, literally.
There's always one in the group.
Always. Like, you can be a
Always.
skeptic and still be like, I don't know if I believe in this, but I'm gonna go in there with an open mind anyway. You know what I mean? But there's a difference, I think, with, like, skeptics and open-mindedness versus skeptics with closed-mindedness. You know? And you have to want to see it. Like, you know, your brain, it's kind of like, I give my clients a lot of time, like, the red car metaphor. Like, if you tell your brain to look out for a red car, you're going to see a lot of red cars on the highway.
True.
You know, there's also a lot of other colors of cars out there on the highway. There's blue, there's white, there's black, there's yellow, there's silver, right? It's the same kind of thing, I think, with paranormal. Like, if you want to look for that stuff and you want to experience it, you'll see it.
You'll see it.
You'll see it in that way. You know, it's like if that's the lens that you're looking through. But
It's almost like a third eye.
yeah, like you'll see it. But then if you don't want to see it, you're probably not gonna see it as in the same light,
Yeah.
or not, if at all. You know, and I think, like I said earlier, you know, I don't think it's our job to convince anybody of whether or not ghosts are real. I think that what we're doing is just kind of facilitating a conversation and letting people know that, like, where we're coming from when we do investigations. And, you know, if you are intrigued or interested or curious about the paranormal, like, that's
Subscribe.
Okay. Well, yeah, subscribe. Yeah. But that's a good thing, and it's okay to be open and curious about it. The more open and curious you are, the more evidence you probably will get.
Yep.
You know?
I agree.
Well, we have
Well said.
so many good things planned
Yes.
for July. It's gonna be so busy.
So busy.
There's Black Swan again.
Part two.
Part two.
Part
'cause
two.
We've already filmed part one.
Yeah.
2 haunted hotel stays.
2 haunted
Hotel stays. Yeah.
The Driscoll Hotel.
Give us a like if you like this video. That helps our channel grow.
Like, comment, subscribe, please.
Subscribe. We're just gonna have so much fun. We're just 3 therapists who are all really good friends, running around having fun adventures.
Yes.
And we like to think we're funny. We think we're hilarious. But
You think we're funny.
If we vibe, subscribe.
Yes. Love
Just
that.
came into my head.
Love that.
are you joking?
No. I'm
You're
serious. I'm serious. That just came to my head. If we vibe, subscribe.
That's
Yes.
awesome! Oh my gosh! But stay tuned, guys. We'll catch you in a future video and enjoy your time on our channel.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye, gorgeous.
I don't know if this is a warning or a message, but I want you to hear my warning.
So.
That's going in the video.